I want to just start by thanking everyone for coming. This is our first part in our social skills training series for adults. And this tonight is called Trading Information and Starting Conversations. That's what we're going to learn. I'm Jennifer Feinstein. I am a case manager in the Daniel Jordan Fiddle Foundation Transition and Adult Programs at UM-NSU CARD. And welcome everyone. We're really glad that you're here. So we're going to talk, here's a little bit about what we're going to learn tonight, what we're going to do. We're going to start by having a little introduction and talk about our rules for this session and for all the other sessions. We're going to learn about friendships and how to understand different categories of friendships. We are going to learn two big things tonight, which is trading information and what that means, and also how to start conversations with people. So, first of all, a little word about our training series. Hopefully when you registered for tonight, you noticed that we have 3 other sessions beyond tonight. And what we're doing is really based on the peers training model. So you can see the word peers here. It is normally, if you were to go to a peers social skills training, it would be a group that would last for 16 weeks, once a week. So what we are doing is basing this training off of that information. So this is a condensed version. And so if you really want more, you want more chance to practice and really learn these skills, we really encourage you to look for peers trainings in the community, and certainly your case manager at CARD can help you find those if you're interested in them. They usually do have a price with them, and it varies depending on what agency is doing them. So, why do you want to learn social skills? And of course, one of the big answers and the things we're going to be really focusing on are to make friends. So that's really what the purpose is for tonight. We do recommend that you attend all 4 sessions because, again, the information will build on each other, each session. And that'll give you, more chance to build on the skills. So we're going to start with one level of skills and then each session will build on them. And if you notice right over here, this is the first session. So then we have session 2, which is going to be given by Sylvia, and that's maintaining and ending conversations and handling disagreements. Very important. Then Natalie is going to do this number 3, which is handling feedback and finding a friend group. Also very important. And then the 4th session, if you notice here, it's for your parents. And what we find is that we're going to be going through a lot of information and techniques and giving things names like trading information that not everyone knows about. And so we want your parents to learn all the skills we're teaching you so they can help you and they can remind you and support you when you're working on developing friendships and starting conversations or trading information with people. So anyway, when you are done tonight, you can, if you haven't already registered, we really encourage you to go back into Eventbrite and register for the other sessions as well. Okay. So let's talk about some rules. We have a lot of people already on here and a lot of more people registered. So we're not sure how many people are going to come. So for tonight, we're doing this as a training and we're going to keep everyone on mute. So you all will not be able to unmute yourselves. Okay. So you will know you're going to keep your microphone on mute. We suggest that you select the speaker view on your Zoom controls. If you see something that says speaker view, we suggest that you select it because that'll be the best experience for you. You'll just see me talking or whoever, if someone else is talking. And then, so because we're keeping everyone on mute, we want this to still be interactive. So this is going to be really important. We want you to use the chat if you have a question or a comment. So you guys, most of you, I think, know if you see the chat symbol, and it says chat, you can click on it and you can type into that. And then we want everyone to be respectful and friendly. So we don't want any swearing in the chat. We also don't want any negative feedback in the chat. So I want you all to feel comfortable giving an answer when I ask a question in the chat and not feel embarrassed if it's not correct. So if you see someone's answer that you don't think is the right answer, that's okay. You just can say yours. You don't give feedback to the other participants. So I hope we've all got it, the rules. Excellent. Okay, so throughout this presentation, you guys are going to see this visual. Okay, what this visual means is think about it and write it in the chat. So since we have so many people, we're not going to talk live. This is how we're going to do it. When we see this visual, I will be prompting you to answer some questions or share some thoughts about what I'm talking about in the chat. Okay. All right, so let's get started. Okay, so we're going to start with understanding friendships. So first of all, here's our visual to think about these questions and write them in the chat. What is a friend? How do you know if you have a friend? So if some of you want to answer these questions, what kind of things do friends have in common? And maybe what's a best friend? So Cece, do we have anybody writing in the chat right now about a friend?
Yeah, so right now Ross shared that how do you know when you have a friend? You have similar interests and hobbies.
Okay, and I'm gonna stop you for 1 second. We're not gonna say the names, everyone. I'm sorry, because I know you all want to own your comments, I'm sure, because they're gonna be awesome, but we're gonna not do names so that we're recording this training. So sorry, go ahead.
Thank you, Jennifer. Someone shared a friend is someone you can trust and talk to there and be there no matter what. Similar interests, someone who values honesty.
Ooh, I love it.
And what you have in common, someone who you can rely on, someone that directs you in the right direction, is trustworthy.
Okay, awesome. All right, great. Thank you. Those are great, you guys. And I love that you already have such powerful ideas of what a friend is. It's really important. So we're going to go through a list, and you guys said most of these. One of the big ones and the thing that we're going to be trying to work on tonight and learn is about sharing common interests, because that's really how you know you might want to hang out with somebody or maybe talk to them more, is if you have a common interest. Kindness and caring are another good characteristic of good friendships. Support. You want your friend to be there to support you, and you want to be a good friend and be there to support your friends. Okay. Mutual understanding is really important. So something that makes someone a good friend is that they understand you and you can understand them, right? Commitment and loyalty are very important in friendships. And honesty and trust. I want to have the people that are my good friends, I feel like I can trust them. Okay. And I feel like I can be honest with them and they will be honest with me. This is a big one that I want to just touch on: equality. We don't always think about equality when we're talking about friendships, but it's really, really important for both regular friendships and also romantic friendships or romantic relationships. You want to be equal. We don't want one person in the relationship to have more power, right? Or aggression. So I want my people who I would consider my good friends are going to feel equal to me, and I'm going to feel equal to them. Okay. And then this one is really important too. Self-disclose. We talk about disclosure a lot with autism because it's a disability, but also for anyone, a good friend is someone you can share secrets with. You can share intimate things about yourself. And so that is a characteristic that you're going to look for in a good friend. And it might be something that also tells you, wow, this is a good friend because I know I can talk to them about anything. And then of course, conflict resolution, because if you think that you have a good friend and you're never going to have a conflict, you're wrong, because we're all human and people disagree. So we want to be able to, a good friend is someone that we are able to disagree with and then resolve that conflict. So I hope that you guys were thinking, when we were thinking about all of these characteristics of friendship, there's different types of friendships, okay? There's kind of different levels of friendships. So when you were thinking about what makes a good friend, maybe you were thinking about the people you know and trying to decide, are they a good friend? What kind of friend are they? Okay, so here's the different levels, and we're going to go, I have a nice visual to explain what these levels mean, but there's really different levels of friendships. So there's acquaintances, casual friends, regular friends, and best friends. So sometimes you may be unsure, like, how good of a friend is this person? How do I interact with them? So it's helpful to use this guide as an assessment. All right. So here you go. We have different types of friendships, and you'll notice that this is in a pyramid. And I made this as a pyramid for a reason, because down here, we're going to start down here with acquaintances. You will have the most everyone, all of us have the most acquaintances. Okay. Somebody is an acquaintance when you don't know them well. You do not do things with them outside of how you know them. So if you know them at work or at school, or even some of you are in friendship programs where you do online groups. So, but if you don't do things outside of that group, then this is in the category of an acquaintance. Okay. Acquaintances, you might know their name, but you might not know their name. So if you have kids in class or adults and friends at work where you kind of, you feel like you know them, but you're not sure what their name is, or you know their name, but you don't do things outside of that situation, then that's an acquaintance. And so we don't know enough about an acquaintance to be a good friend. Now, could they be a good friend? Maybe. And so that's where you might want to start doing some of the tips that we're going to teach you tonight so that you can determine, do I have common interests? Would this be a good friend? You can get to know them. And so you might start with an acquaintance and then work your way up by getting to know them. So, okay, so that's acquaintances. We all have the most acquaintances. Okay, casual friends would be the next level. And, you can see it's going to be less than acquaintances, but it still might be a lot of people that you have as casual friends. You know their name. That's the big difference, is that to make them in a category that's more of a friend than an acquaintance, you definitely know their name, and you interact with them occasionally. You don't have a lot of social interaction outside of your groups, but maybe you text with them or, have a phone call every now and then. So occasionally you do stuff with them. And then again, you still don't know enough about them. You don't know them well enough to know if they're a good friend, if they would be a good friend. But again, you're now working your way up the ladder. So each time you become more friendly with someone, you get closer to knowing whether they would be a good friend for you. Okay, so then the next level is regular friends. Okay, so still less friends in this category than casual. So we're getting narrower. That means there's fewer and fewer people. But these are friends that hang out in the same social circle, go to get-togethers, and do things together. You spend time together outside your programs or your school or your work. Okay. These people, the regular friends, when you get up here, notice it's a smaller number, much smaller number. These people have many characteristics of a good friend, some, but not all, right? So, but you like these people because you know they have some of those characteristics. And then up here at the very top is best friends. And you will notice it is very small. It's a small little triangle of people. So your best friends, you spend a lot of your free time together. You're in a same social clique together, which means you have these other mutual regular friends, but this is your best friend. And they're somebody that you feel for you. They have most, if not all, of the characteristics of a good friend that we talked about. So these are the people that you feel you can tell your things to and be open with them, all the things we talked about. It's a very small number. Most people have one best friend, or maybe two, maybe three, but this is a very close friendship that you spend a lot of time together. So just so you know, I have two, maybe three from a friend from college, but that's going to be the maximum. So that's a very close friendship. All right, I hope everyone understands about the friend levels. And then just a word, we're not going to talk about dating, but many times when I talk with you all and people that come to my groups, a lot of people are interested in establishing romantic relationships or dating, and they're similar to friendships. You know, all those good qualities that we talked about for a good friendship, that's what you're going to want in a romantic partner. But then they also might include mutual physical attraction, passion, love, deeper emotional intimacy, and physical intimacy. So that's usually what the difference is. Okay. All right. So we're going to use a thing called polls on Zoom. I don't know if a lot of you have done this before, but we're going to have a poll each section. It's going to be a couple of questions about the section that we just talked about, just so we can get some interaction and see what you guys remember from what we just talked about. So let's go ahead and do the poll. Okay, so you just select your answer on there, read it and select your answer, and it'll give you a few seconds. And then we'll get to know who's paying attention. Still going? Yep. Okay, did everyone vote? I hope everyone answered. Yeah? Okay, should we go ahead and end it? Okay, so we said you guys are all looking at the results now. So for the question in the beginning, if you know someone at work, but you talk sometimes, but you don't see them outside of a work or group program, is an acquaintance. So a lot of you got that right. A lot of you did. So just remember, if there's somebody you know at a program or at work, but you don't do things with them outside, that's an acquaintance, okay? That's not a best friend. And then how many best friends do people usually have? And 97% of you got the answer, which is 1 or 2 best friends, okay? I can't say no one has 10 to 15 best friends, but most people do not have 10 to 15 best friends, okay? What most people have 1 to 2. All right, great job, you guys. That's really good. You guys are getting it. That's awesome. Okay, let's go to the next section. Okay. All right, so now we're going to talk about trading information. Okay, so now that we learned about the friendships, we're going to talk about how to strengthen these friendships to get to know people better. And the way that we do that is by talking and trading information. So trading information really means talking and exactly really what it sounds like, sharing information back and forth between people. It's what people naturally do. Okay, so this is what everyone is doing when they're having a conversation. We're calling it trading information so that you can really understand that trading part that goes with it. But it's what everyone does when they have a conversation. And it really involves sharing or exchanging thoughts, ideas, and interests. All right, and that's really important. We're going to see why. We're going to talk about it. So, and this is really the most important goal right here. It's to find common interests, all right? Because when you want to know if someone is a friend, like we talked about, you want to know, do you have some things in common? What might you want to talk to them about? Or maybe even if you're going to take it to that next level of friendship, what will you want to do together? Okay, so I have some examples here of common interests, but you can apply anything that you're into. So we have gaming, reading books, comics strips, reading comics or going to like a Comic-Con situation, and of course watching movies. But those are just a few ideas, right? So we're really going to trade information so we can find out what people are interested in and see if we're interested in the same things. Okay, so we have some rules. So what we love about this peers program that we've based this on is that there's a lot of lists and rules. So it takes these things that seem difficult and it boils it down into some rules for you. So the rules are, we're going to go more into depth in each one. So don't feel like you have to remember these right now. So number one, you're going to ask the other person questions. Okay. Again, remember what the goal is of trading information. It's to find common interests. Okay. So first, you're going to ask the other person questions. Then you're going to answer your own questions. You're going to find the common interests and ask follow-up questions. And you're always going to make sure that you're sharing the conversation. Okay, so we're going to talk more about each of those. Okay, so the first rule for trading information is to ask people questions. And of course, again, the goal is, again, to find those common interests, because how will you find the common interests if you don't ask questions? So that's a great way to find common interests. So you guys use the chat. Here's my visual. Think about this for a minute and use the chat and tell me what are some questions that you think you might ask someone or people might ask each other to find some common interests. And I think we'll see if CC has any good ideas from the chat.
Without naming names, what are you interested in? Do you watch the movie or the game? What are your hobbies? Your favorite food? What do you do in your free time?
Oh, good one. All right. Any more?
Shifting your body towards them, keep arms length apart. Prefer body language that indicates lack of interest, such as eye shifting.
Oh, look at that. Someone could do this presentation for me. We're going to talk about that later.
Favorite sports teams, favorite video games.
Perfect. Awesome. Okay, thank you. That is amazing. You guys are on it. And really keep in mind all of those ideas that you came up with. And then here's a bunch more, because really when you're trying to find common interests or ask someone questions, it helps to think of things that could possibly be an interest. And it gives you something to talk about. So again, somebody said this. Generally, it's going to be questions about interests, hobbies, or what they like to do on the weekends. And here's a whole list: TV shows, movies, music, books. What kind of food do you like to eat? What games do you like? What do you like to do on the weekends? What classes are you taking? If you know someone's in school or you meet them in a classroom setting, you can ask them what other classes they take. And then, of course, right now, what are you watching on Netflix, or what are you binging? You know, that's a thing everyone's asking each other on Netflix these days. Awesome. Okay. Another question for the chat. Why is it important to ask the other person questions when you guys think about this? So why do you want to do that? We just had all those questions. Why is it important to ask the other person questions? Does anyone know?
We have some good ones: to get to know them, find common ground, to get to know each other. It shows you have an interest in them and that you care.
That's right.
Many of them are saying to show interest and have interest and share.
That's right. So they got it. You guys got it. You guys are so smart. That's awesome. Yes. Asking people questions is a really good idea. It's really important because you can find common interests with them and all the things you guys just said. And those are all excellent reasons. So really good. You guys are on it. Okay. So now we know that we're going to ask the person questions, but this is an interesting one and people don't always remember this part. You also need to answer your own question. So it's really important to answer your questions too, because you asked them about their interest. Now you want to share something about yourself and your interest. So, you know, sometimes you might say, hey, what kind of movies do you like? And then they'll answer. They might ask you the same question back, but if they don't, you can answer your own question too. So if they say, I like superhero movies, you could be like, oh, I like superhero movies too, right? So you answer your own question. And so really, you guys can write it in the chat too if you want to. But why is it important to answer your own questions? Just as a reminder, because they may not ask you the same question, okay? And in order to be really trading information, right? We're calling this trading information. We're gonna ask and answer, and you need to tell them about you too. So awesome, great job, you guys. Okay, so this is finding common interest is back to what I said in the beginning is really one of the most important goals of trading information, because friendships are based on common interests, right? So common interests are the things we talk about and do together. Also, if you're asking questions and trading information, you can also find out things that people don't like. So you then will know, I don't want to talk to this person about that. So it can be really helpful. So you avoid topics that the person doesn't like to do. Or let's say you want to make a friendship outside of school and you want to ask someone to do something with you. Well, if you already know that they don't like hiking because they don't like to be outside, then you won't ask them to go hiking, right? It helps you to know what you might want to actually do together. Okay, and then here we have those same common interest things to think about for people. And so, why is it so important to find common interests? There's 4 reasons, but many reasons, but they keep the conversation going. Remember, trading information is starting a conversation. It helps you keep your conversation going by giving you things to talk about, and they give you things you could do together. And if our goal is to make more friends, we want to eventually have things to do with people outside of how we know them, okay? And the basic thing at the bottom here, friendships are based on common interests. So that's really important. Okay, so another important thing is let's think back. We've asked the person questions, we answered our own questions, we found common interests, but now we want to keep that conversation going. So we want to ask follow-up questions, okay? It's important to ask a follow-up question because that's how we get to know each other. It keeps the conversation going. And if we switch topics too much, it can be jarring to the other person and sound like an interview. So a follow-up question allows you to ask another question about that same topic, okay? So follow-up questions are important. So now I need your guys' help, okay? I have these people here are talking, and I need help coming up with some follow-up questions for this person, okay? So this is our friend. This guy here asks, what do you like to do on the weekends? Okay, and this girl says, I like to watch movies. So can you guys put in the chat, here's my visual, I would like you guys to help me out in the chat with some follow-up questions about watching movies.
Already great responses. We got, what kind of movies do you watch? What are your favorites?
Perfect. What's your
What
favorite?
kind of movies do you like to watch?
Any other ones? You have any others?
What movies do you watch on Netflix?
Okay, Netflix. How about Netflix? Anything else? Let's see if anybody can come up with one that hasn't been said. Can you guys think of another
What is
follow-up?
your favorite movie genre?
Oh, that's a good one.
What categories do you like?
Okay, cool.
Do you like sci-fi? Do you also like TV shows?
Okay, there you go. So those are great. So that's great. That's what a follow-up question is takes a category of what they said and asks questions related to it. I think you can also ask people, do you like to go to a movie theater or do you prefer to watch at home? Different questions. So good job, you guys. That's awesome. Thank you for helping me come up with those questions. Okay, so number 5 for trading information is share the conversation. All right, this is really why it's called trading information. And this is what it's all about, is we don't want to be the only ones talking, okay? That's boring for the other person if they're just listening to you talk. So sharing the conversation might involve you pausing, right? You need to pause and give that other person a chance to ask you some questions or maybe make comments. So if you talk too fast and you ask questions, answer your own questions, ask follow-up questions, but you don't give that person a chance to make a comment or say something back to you, you're not sharing the conversation. And why do you need to? Because this is how you trade information and have a two-way conversation. So that's really important. Okay, so we've got our 5 rules. So just to recap, if everybody's with me, we're going to ask the other person questions. We're going to answer our own questions, find common interests, ask follow-up questions, and share the conversation. So those are our 5 rules for trading information. So now we're going to talk about some problems that people have sometimes. So can you guys, if anyone can think in the chat, what are some mistakes? Maybe they're mistakes you've made, or maybe they're mistakes you think some people might make when they're having a conversation. So these are called social errors, and a lot of us make these mistakes sometimes. So can anybody think of any, Cece? Because I know this is a tough one.
Ooh, good one. Asking too many questions.
Oh, I love that.
In interview, being too personal, not giving the other person a chance to speak, or not being able to express yourself, overstepping boundaries.
Mhm.
Don't be an interviewer, asking the wrong ones.
Okay.
Interrupting, lots of them. Asking
Okay.
you questions. Oh, they're going fast. Don't overwhelm them, talking too much, not talking enough.
Wow.
Say something that's private to another person.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. Well, you guys are amazing, and you have come up with some great things. We're going to talk about 3 of them. But, you know, you're right. And I'm going to suspect maybe some of you have heard that you've made these mistakes before, or maybe you've been in a conversation with somebody that made some of those mistakes and it was uncomfortable for you. So, we're going to watch some fun videos now about these social errors. Okay. So we're going to watch this video. This lady here with the blonde hair over here, this is Alina. Okay. So think about, and you can write in the chat during this too. Think about what is Alina doing wrong and how this girl here feels. Poor girl with the dark hair. I don't know her name, but you can ask, we'll talk about what does she feel like? And we're going to kind of talk about that at the end too. So here we go.
Hey Allison, how was your weekend?
It was really good. How was yours?
It was really good. Yeah, I
Yeah?
went to go see the new sci-fi movie
Oh,
with my
I wanted to
friends, and
see
it was
that. Where
such
did you-
a good movie. We
Yeah?
had a great time.
Who did
and
you
then
see
we
it
like
with?
got like a lot of popcorn and chocolate, and we had such a good time. And after that, we all went to dinner together, and we like went to my favorite pizza place, and we got like the best pizza, and it was huge. It was so big, and I had like half of it. And then after that, we had a sleepover, and we stayed up like all night. And I stayed up the latest. I stayed up till like 3 in the morning, and now I'm like super tired. And I have so much to do today. Like I'm gonna go swimming, and then after that, I'm gonna walk my dog to the park. It's like my favorite park by my house, and yeah, I'm really excited. I have a really long day, but I'm really tired because last night was, yeah, I stayed up really, really late, and it was fun.
Okay.
I stayed up till like 3 in the morning.
Darn it. Hold on. Let me get back to where the questions are. Okay. So why don't you guys write in the chat, what did Alina do wrong?
Oh, lots of comments. So very quickly, Alina didn't stop talking. She talked too much.
Yep.
She's
Okay.
being self-interest. She didn't pause and let the other person speak.
Okay. Stop. I'm going to stop you there. Now, what was it like? What do we think it was like for this, for the other person, for the girl with the dark hair? What was that like for her? Does anybody have any thoughts about what it was like? You could see her face.
Disinterested, overwhelming, concerned.
Okay. It overwhelmed her. Yeah.
Annoyed.
Did she like it? Yeah. Did she like talking to Alina?
No,
Probably not.
lots of no's.
No, she did not like it. And do you guys think she would want to talk to Alina again? So did that girl, yeah.
Lots of no's, not at all.
Perfect. Okay. So we got it. So we don't want to make this social error. And this error is called being a conversation hog. Okay. And you see my little pig here? We don't want to be like him. So what it really means is don't do what Alina just did. You don't want to monopolize the conversation. You also don't want to lecture. It means you're having a one-sided conversation. And you know why you don't want to do that? Because it's really boring for the other person. They don't get to talk at all. So sometimes we have something we really love and we're really interested in. But if we just talk about our own interest and we don't give that other person a chance to talk about their interest or even find out if they like it, do you think that's fun for them? No, it is not. It is called being a conversation hog. And so that's just a social error that we can all work on by making sure that we're not being like Alina was in that video. So here we go. Social error number 2. And again, in the chat, we're going to answer these questions. What does she do wrong? Alina still. How does this other person feel? And would she like talking? Would that make her want to talk to Alina again? So let's see what we've got here.
Hey Allison, how was your weekend?
It was really good. How was yours?
Fine. What'd you do?
I went to the movies with some friends.
Oh yeah, what movie did you see?
Just the new sci-fi movie.
Oh yeah, did you like it?
I did. Have you seen it?
Which movie theater did you go to?
Just my neighborhood one.
Oh, do you go there often?
I do. Have you ever been?
Who do you usually go with?
Just friends.
Okay, what do you and your friends do other than go to the movies?
Like, go out to eat.
Oh, what kind of food do you like to eat?
Italian food.
Oh, so do you like pizza or pasta?
Both.
Oh, do you like Chinese food?
Sure.
Oh yeah, what's your favorite kind of Chinese food?
Like, all of it.
Okay, what other food do you like?
I don't know.
Okay. So let's see CC in the chat. What did she do wrong here?
Okay.
And what did she
This is a very talkative group. So she's off topic, rolling her eyes. She's asking a lot of questions.
Right, the questions. Okay, so we're talking about Alina. So Alina's asking a lot of questions, but I like that someone noticed that the other girl's rolling her eyes, because does that mean she's having fun? Okay, what else?
So she's changing the topic frequently.
Okay, that's right. That's one of the things we talked about. And what about the other girl? So we said she's rolling her eyes, the dark hair girl. So did she like Alina? What did she think of her, do we think?
So many people are sharing that she probably felt frustrated and doesn't want to talk to Alina anymore.
Yeah.
Not letting her answer, and she's not interested. She was looking away.
Yes. Okay. Perfect. That's great. You guys are even noticing some body language things about this other girl's reaction. I love it. So this error is called "don't be an interviewer," and I think somebody said that in the other answers earlier in the chat. So don't be an interviewer. Okay. Interviewing means ask question after question after question without sharing about yourself. People don't like it. It's even though you're asking all about the other person, right? You are showing interest in them. It's still boring, right? It's still a one-sided conversation because you're not sharing the conversation with that other person. You're not answering their questions. You're only asking. So we don't want to be, this lady here is an interviewer, and we do not want to be an interviewer. Okay, you guys are doing so great. This is awesome. All right, let's do this next one. Let's see what this one is. And again, in the chat, you guys can say what still Alina. We're looking at Alina's behavior. What does Alina do wrong? How does this other girl feel? And does she want to talk to Alina more? Because remember, we're trying to make friends, right? We want people to want to talk to us again. So here we go.
Hey Allison, how was your weekend?
It was really good. How was yours?
It was good. What'd you do?
I went to dinner with my mom and stepdad.
Oh, your stepdad.
Yeah.
So your parents are divorced?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. How old were you when that happened? That must have been hard for you.
12. Yeah, it kind of was. I don't really want to talk about it.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm just curious. So do you know why?
They don't really talk about it.
Oh, they didn't really tell you why?
No.
Okay, well, is that like hard for you?
Could we just change the subject?
Well, I'm just curious, So, like, do you hang out with your mom more or your dad?
I really hang out with both of them.
Okay. Is that like weird? Like, do they fight over you still?
No.
So, are you like closer with your mom or your dad?
I like both of them.
Okay. Well, do they tell you why?
No, we don't talk about it.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm just curious.
Okay. So, what do we have, Cece? What is Alina doing wrong?
So our big theme is she's being too personal and being nosy, asking inappropriate questions.
Yes, that's right.
Asking too many personal questions.
Yeah, I like that. And what about that girl? How did she feel? The dark hair girl. Does anyone notice how she felt?
Yeah, they say that she's really uncomfortable. That it's making her feel uncomfortable by asking so many questions, annoyed.
Yes.
And she's looking away, or maybe she feels upset.
That's right. There you go. And again, I'm sure everyone sounds like they're on the same page here. Do we think that girl wants to talk to Alina again? No, I don't think so,
No.
right? When she's very uncomfortable and, clearly feels like this is not fun for her. So this one is called Don't Get Too Personal Too Fast. So when you first are trying to get to know someone, so this is before they are your good friend and before you know them well, you don't want to ask too many personal questions. That will make the other person feel uncomfortable. Like we just saw, you guys said she's uncomfortable. So that is what will happen. And it may be okay to ask personal questions after you get to know someone, but it's very risky at first and you risk making them not want to talk to you again. So there you go. All right. Okay. So we saw a lot of things that we did wrong. We learned our 5 rules for trading information. We saw some things we don't want to be, 3 social errors we don't want to do. So now let's watch a video where they're doing it right. So you guys in the chat, think about what they're doing right and what is Alina doing right this time, but both of them. And when we're watching this, we're going to think, what's it like for them? And also, would they want to talk to each other again? So let's see.
Hey Allison, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm really good. How was your weekend?
It was really nice. How was yours?
It was great. I actually went to the movies.
Oh, cool. What did you see?
I saw that new sci-fi movie.
Oh, I've been wanting to see that.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah?
Yeah. Have you seen the first one?
I did. I saw the first one. I need to see the second one.
Yeah, the first one was good too.
Yeah.
Do you think they'll make another one?
I hope so.
I know, right? I really hope so.
Yeah. Did you read the books at all?
I read the first one.
Okay.
Yeah.
I read all of the books, so I really hope they make a third.
Yeah, I really want to read the rest of the books.
You should.
Yeah. But you should definitely see the movie. The special effects are so good.
I know. They do a really good job.
Yeah.
Okay. So what do we think in the chat?
So they liked that she was on topic. They asked follow-up questions.
Yes.
Topic. It was a good talk. Everyone got a chance to speak.
Yep.
Mutual exchange of information. They were engaged, listening. They found common interest.
Oh my gosh, perfect.
No mistakes were made. They were going back and forth, and they were talking. They were really talking, no interrupting.
And so does everyone think that this girl liked Alina this time? Do you think she wants to talk to her again?
Lots of yeses, and they look happy.
Right, exactly. So you guys are nailed it 100%. You guys are like experts on trading information now. You picked up all the things you want to do in a conversation when you're getting to know someone. So way to go. Yay for you guys. All right, I think we have a poll. Ooh, it's time to take a poll about trading information. So just like we did last time, just jump in and select your answers, and then we'll see if everyone's on the right track. Oh, look at this. We're doing like 100% this time, I think. Okay, if everyone who wants to vote voted, then we're going to go ahead and end the poll. Let's go ahead and end it. Awesome. So look at this. We got 100%. So of course, the most important goal for trading information is to find common interests. The goal is not to tell them your own opinions, right? That's part of it, but we want to have common interests. And then why is it important? Is because friendships are based on common interests. So awesome. Great job. Good job, you guys. You're learning stuff. All right, here we go. Okay, so now this one is sometimes tricky for us, right? When we see people, we're someplace like at a social event and we want to start a conversation with someone we don't know. So let's talk about some steps. So first of all, think about in the chat, how do you guys like to start a conversation? Does anyone have anything they like to do to start a conversation? Or what do our parents, this is a funny thing. If you think about what most parents tell you, if you're like, oh, I want to meet someone at my class, what do they usually tell you about how to start a conversation? So let's see what people say in the chat.
So someone shared that starting conversations scares me.
Yeah, that's great.
Introducing yourself, saying hi, greetings, how are you?
Okay, cool. Well, thank you for that. And I want to thank the person who shared that it scares you to start a conversation, because a lot of people feel that way. And, that's why we're all here. And that's why there's all these trainings and trainings and trainings about how to do this. And we have it broken down. The Peers model breaks it down into 6 steps. But it's funny because when you think about what your parents usually tell you, and they used to tell me, and I've probably said this to my kids, is when I say, oh, I don't know anyone, your parents sometimes tell you, oh, just go up and say hi, as if that's the first step. But actually, that's not the first step. So, or introduce yourself, go up and introduce yourself, right? So we're going to talk about the real way you want to do it. But first, let's watch a little social error when starting a conversation. Okay, poor Alina is going to be making some mistakes again. So let's think about what she's doing wrong. She's trying to start an error, and let's think about, again, same thing as before. What is Alina doing wrong? And then how does it feel for this other girl? Okay.
Hey, do you ever go roller skating?
What?
Do you go roller skating?
No.
Why not? You should go.
Okay.
It's really fun. I go like every weekend.
Sweet.
There's this new skate park that just opened up.
I'm trying to watch something right now, so.
Oh, well, I'm just saying. It's really fun. They have like a student night every Thursday.
Cool.
You should definitely go.
Okay.
Okay. What did you guys think about this? What does anybody have in the chat? What did Alina do wrong, do we think? And what did it feel like for that other girl?
So someone shared there was no introduction.
Ah, good.
Inappropriate greeting interrupted her iPhone time.
Yep.
Not making eye contact, jumped into talking. She walked in funny, not enthusiastic, being pushy. Okay,
perfect. That's right. So, and I think we can agree that this girl was rolling her eyes. She didn't seem to like Alina very much. And it seemed kind of awkward. That's what I felt, like very awkward. Like this girl just started talking about roller skating without knowing if I'm interested in that at all. All right. So here's our steps. So there's steps you're going to take when you want to start a conversation with someone. And this is really geared towards times when you go out, let's say you're at a class or in a program in the community, or you're with other people. You can use it virtually too. But it really, we're going to think about, the time when things open up again and we're back in groups. Okay. So these are the steps, and we're going to talk more about each step. But first, we're going to casually look over at the person. Okay. Then we're going to use a prop, and I'm going to explain what that means. So while we're looking at them, we're going to use a prompt. We're going to find a common interest. So all of this is, look at the bottom. The 7th step is introduce yourself. So I want to point out, while I'm saying these steps, that's at the bottom, right? So we're doing all of this before we say our name. So we find a common interest is number 3. Number 4, we mention the interest. Then trade information, usually about the common interest. And then we're going to assess interest. Do they want to keep talking to us? And then at the end, after we do all those steps, we introduce ourselves. Okay, so it's a little bit different than what parents sometimes say, right? A lot of steps there. First step is casually looking over. Okay, so this is, if you just imagine we're in a group, we're going to look over at that person, but it's casually, because that means we're not going to stare at them, right? We're just going to look for a second or two. We're not going to stare. Casually looking over is a good idea because it shows interest. It's that first moment that you show that you're interested in talking to someone, okay? You just look at them for a couple of seconds, okay? Now, step two is that we're going to use a prop. And using a prop is good because it helps you to not look like you're staring. Okay. So many people, the most common prop is your phone, right? Because most of us have a phone with us, especially if it's a smartphone. Even if we're not really doing something, we can look like this girl in the picture. We can look like we're using our phone for something. So it looks like we are focused on another activity, but we're just glancing over at the person. Okay. So again, using a prop is a good thing to do because it helps you look like you're not staring. So number 3, now we want to find a common interest. And the point of this common interest is so that we can start a conversation about it, right? So this is going to be our thing that gives us that reason to start a conversation. So we casually and covertly watch the person. Covert means like kind of secretly. So we're going to watch them while we use our prompt so they don't know we're watching them and so that we're not staring. And then something that may be a common interest that you both share. Okay. So finding a common interest is good because that is what you're going to talk about. It gives you something to talk about with them. So remember, we're starting a conversation with someone we don't know. So we want to have some reason why we're talking to them. So then is this 4? Yeah, step 4 is mention the common interest. Okay. So once you've identified it, that's where this is your intro. This is how you start your conversation. So once you've figured out, you've been watching them covertly, you're on your phone, you see something you could talk about. Maybe it's their t-shirt. Maybe it's another class coming up, something like that. So once you've identified a common interest, you could say something about it. You can either say a comment about it, ask a question, or give a compliment about it. It's important to mention the common interest because this is your excuse for talking to them. Okay, so this is the reason. So you're not going to be like Alina did when she just like jumped in about roller skating without knowing that that's a common interest. Okay, so number 5 is we're going to start trading information. So now in step 5, after we've mentioned that common interest, now's when we put all steps for trading information into play, right? We're going to trade information. So we're going to ask questions. We're going to answer our own questions. We're going to ask follow-up questions, share relevant information about ourselves. That's the trading information. And that is what a conversation is. And that's how you get to know each other. Okay. So then, okay, this is a really crucial step because sometimes people make it through those first 5 steps, but it's not going well, right? So I have a question for the chat. You guys can help me figure this out. How can you tell if someone wants to talk to you, right? Because we need to figure out, we've started this conversation with someone we don't know. So we need to find out, are they interested in keeping talking to us? So what do you guys think in the chat?
Some great responses already. We see using body language in their eyes. They look happy or smiling. They're looking at you. Again, a lot of eye contact.
Okay, awesome.
Tone of voice.
Okay, great, perfect. Those are great. So here we go. So yeah, there's 3 questions we're gonna ask ourselves, okay? Are they talking to me? Are they looking at me? And are they facing me? So this is how we're gonna judge. And you wanna have at least 2 out of 3. So I know that some people, some autistic people feel like they struggle with eye contact. So maybe they aren't great at making eye contact all the time, but you want to know that so if eye contact is a struggle, that's okay. Are they looking at you some of the time? But then you can look at their body. Are they facing you? Somebody who is interested in continuing the conversation will actually be facing you, okay? And they will be talking to you. So that's the most obvious. If you're asking questions and they're not really talking to you much or giving one-word answers, they may not be interested in continuing. And you know what? That's okay. Because think about this. Does everyone have to want to talk to everyone else in the world? No, because it goes back to characteristics of friendships. We're not going to necessarily be friends with every person, right? So not everyone has to want to talk to you, and you don't have to want to talk to every person. Friendship is a choice. So if somebody's not interested, it's okay. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to be insulted or sad about it. You know what? Just move on. You know, I tried to start a conversation. They don't seem interested, so I'm going to move on. So that's the way. And then finally, we've got step 7, which is introducing yourself if they seem interested. Okay, so step 6 is going to be crucial. You try to start a conversation. If they're not talking to you, looking at you and facing you, just be like, okay, well, I got to go, catch you later, and move on. But if they seem like they are talking to you, looking at you and facing you, now you can say the introduction. So you introduce yourself. So you might say, by the way, I'm Jen. My name is Jen. Or, hey, we haven't met, but I'm Jen. That's what I would say. So again, just a little tip down here. If they didn't seem interested, you move on without introducing yourself, right? So if in step 6, you got the feeling they weren't interested because they weren't looking at you, talking to you, or facing you, then you don't have to introduce yourself. You just say, all right, catch you later, and you move on. Okay, so that is the 7th step. All right, so we are now we're going to see an example of starting a conversation the right way. Okay, and again, we're going to do our best to think about what does Alina do right this time, and how does this other girl feel about talking to her? And would she want to talk to her again? Okay, and you guys can put your answers in the chat while you're watching or after.
Oh my god, I love that song.
Yeah, me too. This is the new video that just came out today.
No way, I'm dying to see that.
Yeah, it's so good.
That's awesome. Have you ever seen her in concert?
I have. I actually have tickets for her upcoming concert.
No way, the one that's coming up in 2 weeks?
Yeah, it's going to be so great.
That's so cool.
Have you ever seen her perform?
No, I wish. I really want to.
Oh my gosh, she's amazing in concert. You need to see her.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, I'm Alina.
I'm Jordan.
Nice to meet you.
Okay, so chatters, help me out here. What did we do right, and what do we think? Did this go well?
So they agree that it went well. There was introduction, common interest. The introduction was good. Perfect introduction. She showed common interest.
Yeah.
And they were
I have a question. Let's see if any of you noticed this, if you can answer this right now. The one girl the dark hair girl was on her phone, but Alina came in with a prop. Did anyone notice what Alina's prop was that gave her that reason for being right next to the other girl? See if we can have bonus points if anyone picked that up.
lots of books.
Oh, yes. So we didn't see this first part, but Alina might have been like wanting to meet this person and wanting to talk to her, but not knowing how. But then she used a prop. So she was like, this girl's standing my book. So she went to put a book away. And that gave her that time to look at the phone and see a common interest. She noticed the video and then she talked to her. So she used all the steps before she even started talking, right? So anyway, great job, you guys. You guys are like really on it. And I hope that you guys are going to practice some of these things too when you're going forward. So before we talk about practice, let's take a poll. This is our last poll about starting conversations. So go ahead and jump in. Okay. Oh, that's right. We have 3 questions on this poll, so. Okay, last few seconds if you guys want to, and if anyone else wants to vote who hasn't voted yet, so we can see if everyone agrees. Okay, should we stop the, well, somebody's still voting. Okay, hold on. Okay, let's go ahead. Okay, so the first question was, what is the first step if you want to start a conversation with a new person? So the choices were run over to them and say your name or casually look over. So this goes back to our 7 steps. So the first step is to casually look over. Great job. Why should you find 87% of you got that? Why should you try to find an interest before you start a conversation with a new person? And the answer is because it gives you something to talk about. And the final one is, what's a good way to assess whether the person is interested in continuing to talk with you? 100% said you should see if they're looking at you, talking to you, and facing you. No one said to see if they're jumping up and down. Sheesh. So good job, you guys. You got it. You got it right. Way to go. All right, let's get rid of that. Okay, so, all right, so this brings us to the end of most of our information. And so what are some next steps that we recommend after this training? All right, so we have a social skills Padlet. So we use, many of you may be aware that we use a thing called a Padlet, which is a link online where we can keep information, flyers, recordings for you. So on that Padlet, we will have the recording from tonight, the presentation, you'll have this PowerPoint presentation on there. And then I also did a list for you, like a visual list that just recaps, because we talked about like 4 different lists tonight. So I just have them all written out on one paper, one sheet that would, if you printed it, it will be a 1-page paper so that you could just refer to it. So what we really think you should do is practice, try to practice. See if you can, you know, apply what you've learned and maybe start a conversation with someone. Or maybe start by practicing trading information. And trading information you could do just to practice, you could do with somebody that you already know, like a family member or someone who already is a friend or an acquaintance, okay? And then we really, really, really want all of you to register for the second session, which is maintaining and ending conversations and handling disagreements. And we would like you to complete an evaluation because it really helps us know how we're doing and do better in all of our trainings. So tomorrow you will get an email recapping you'll get the recording. You will also get a link to the Padlet, a link to re-register for the next one if you need that link again, and then also a link for the evaluation form. So if you can do that. But if you want to do it tonight, the evaluation for us, if anyone is on their computer but has their phone handy, you can scan this barcode and it'll pull up the link and you can just do it really quickly on your phone.